Terrence Maitland, I'm arresting you for the murder of Frankie Peterson.
For the what?
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 TV shows about serial killers.
And I had never heard of him. Like, you'd heard of Zodiac Killer, you heard Son of Sam, like you hear of all of these big, especially in the 70s and 80s.
For this list, we'll be looking at television series that focus heavily on serial killers, both real and fictional. However, we won't be including any docuseries. Warning, there are mild spoilers ahead. What do you think is the most interesting program about this type of criminal? Let us know in the comments. Number 10. Bates Motel. In 1960, Alfred Hitchcock introduced us to who would become the quintessential cinematic serial killer, Norman Bates. A&E's series Bates Motel is a modernized prequel to the events of Psycho, following a teenage Norman Bates and his mother, Norma.
What's important is that we're together. You know, as long as we're together, then nothing bad can really happen. Right, Norman?
Right, Mother.
The two arrive to White Pine Bay, Oregon, where they're the new owners of a motel.
What do you think?
This is crazy, Mom.
The series explores his unusually close relationship with his mother, his fractured psyche, his declining grip on reality, and growing homicidal impulses. Throughout the show's 5-season run, Norman has relationships, both romantic and friendly, as does Norma. But for Norman, mother always comes first.
It's you and me. It's always been you and me. We belong to each other.
I love you, Norman.
Number 9. True Detective. In the first season of this anthology series, Louisiana detectives Rust Cole and Marty Hart investigate the ritualistic homicide of sex worker Dora Lang in 1995.
Look, I'd consider myself a realist, all right? But in philosophical terms, I'm what's called a pessimist.
Okay, what's that mean?
Means I'm bad at parties.
Let me tell you, you ain't great outside of parties either.
The nonlinear story structure alternates between 1995 and 2012, when the detectives are interviewed after a recent murder appears similar to Lang's, suggesting a serial killer is still out there. Like most detectives in film and television, both Cole and Hart struggle with their inner demons as they take on this bizarre case.
I don't drink because I've had trouble with it before. I didn't mean to.
The atmosphere is incredibly bleak, dripping with pessimism and philosophical dread, but that's Southern Gothic for you and reason enough to check out this show.
This is what I'm talking about. This is what I mean when I'm talking about time and death and futility. There are broader ideas at work, mainly what is owed between us as a society for our mutual illusions.
Seasons 2 and 3 may follow different officers and cases, but they are also worthwhile, specifically for the cinematography, action scenes, and performances. Number 8. You. Joe Goldberg is just a nice, gentlemanly bookshop clerk, or so he seems. He's actually an obsessive stalker with a bad habit of killing people.
Well, hello there. Who are you?
When the beautiful Guinevere Beck came into his store, it was love at first sight, for him at least. And unfortunately for Beck, she instantly becomes the center of his twisted world. Believing he's the only one who can save her from bad influences, hello, savior complex, Joe does everything to help Beck in the ways he thinks she needs.
What you really need is someone to save you. I can help, Beck. Let me help you.
Like kidnapping and killing her semi-boyfriend Benji. But his tendency to get lost in his own fantasies almost gets him in trouble. His body count only rises in the subsequent seasons, and we don't think he'll be slowing down anytime soon.
If it was between me and you, Benji, honestly, I would roll the dice. I would. Like you said, I'm not a killer. But this is about her.
Number 7. Sharp Objects. Based on Gillian Flynn's novel of the same name, Sharp Objects is a dark and thrilling series about St. Louis crime journalist Camille Preaker. She's sent to her hometown of Wind Gap, Missouri to report on a girl's murder case.
I didn't know.
Well, then you also don't know that another one's missing now. Might be a serial.
When she arrives, the body of another girl who'd been missing is found on display in town. As a struggling alcoholic, Camille being back around her belittling, manipulative mother, Adora, is a toxic situation.
I'm happy you're here. But please, don't embarrass me. Not again.
What?
When you're here, everything you do comes back on me.
Between her traumatic childhood, the small-town gossip, and memories of her deceased younger sister, Camille has one hell of a time on this assignment. But she meets Kansas City detective Richard Willis, and together they investigate the murders.
I'll talk off record.
Fine, that's fine.
Yeah? Okay, that intrepid girl reporter.
Intrepid.
Do your worst.
Number 6. Killing Eve. MI5 analyst Eve Pilastri's fascination with a female serial killer lands her a job on a special MI6 task force just to find her.
I believe there is a female assassin operating internationally, and she's targeted a number of influential people. She doesn't have a signature, but she certainly has style.
The beautiful and incredibly dressed Villanelle is a psychopathic assassin who is as deadly as she is amusing, with a playful yet methodical approach to her work.
I shot him twice in the heart and watched the spark drain from his eyes.
When she meets Eve, Villanelle becomes infatuated. Equally obsessed with one another, the two chase each other around Europe in a seductive game of cat and mouse. Hilarious hitmen and women have become their own genre with shows like Barry, starring comedian Bill Hader.
That's something I did once, and I'm very comfortable doing it again.
What?
Or not.
Why?
Forget about it.
Who would want this?
Can't you just shoot again?
But unlike Barry, Villanelle still seems to enjoy what she does. One thing's for sure, she'll always look good doing it. Number 5. Twin Peaks. Back in 1990, David Lynch changed television with his surreal horror series. The central mystery was the death of Laura Palmer, a popular teenager whose body washed up on a riverbank.
Diane, it's the same thing. I told you I had a feeling we'd see this again.
FBI Special Agent Dale Cooper finds similarities between Laura's murder and one from a year prior, leading him to believe it's a serial killer.
There are irrefutable similarities that, for obvious reasons I cannot discuss, that lead us to conclude that Laura Palmer was the second and Ronat Pulaski would have been the third victim of the same killer.
Cooper has dreams of an unknown man, one of TV's scariest villains, simply known as Bob or Killer Bob. All of his scenes are pure nightmare fuel, and he gets even more screen time in Lynch's prequel film Twin Peaks: Fire Walk with Me. In 2017, most of the original cast reunited for a third season, which brought even more murder and mayhem to the town of Twin Peaks and beyond. Number 4. Criminal Minds. CBS's addictive crime drama centers on criminal profilers from the FBI's Behavioral Analyst Unit as they travel all around the U.S. investigating criminals like serial killers and mass murderers. The show features fictional serial killers inspired by real cases, and often actual killers like Zodiac and Jeffrey Dahmer are mentioned.
BTK, the Zodiac, and the Reaper all have similarities. They're all highly intelligent, disciplined, sadistic killers who name themselves in the press.
The team deals with some of the strangest cases, involving killers with various motives and methods, from cannibals to criminal masterminds. The unsubs, or unknown subjects, are sometimes interested in their own psychology and seek answers to explain their behavior.
Chester, do you want to know why you killed those women?
What?
Earlier you said you wish that you were different. I can tell you why you killed them, why you are what you are.
The show stands out among a slew of police procedurals because the BAU focuses on the how and why, more than the who and when.
Because the one thing that you always ask is the one that I don't understand. Why?
Number 3. Dexter. Dexter is one of the most popular serial killer shows to ever grace our screens. The Showtime series follows Dexter Morgan, who is a forensic blood splatter pattern analyst for the Miami Metro Police Department by day, and by night, he's a vigilante serial killer himself.
Tonight's the night.
Dexter only kills murderers who got off without punishment, escaped custody, or evaded apprehension altogether. He follows a strict code taught to him by his deceased father, Harry, a homicide detective who adopted Dexter after finding him at the gory crime scene of his mother's murder.
Harry was a great cop here in Miami. He taught me how to think like one, taught me how to cover my tracks. I'm a very neat monster.
It's this horrific experience that led to his Dark Passenger.
blood. Sometimes it sets my teeth on edge. Other times it helps me control the chaos.
Number 2. Hannibal. NBC's critically acclaimed horror thriller explores the intimate and increasingly unhealthy relationship between FBI Special Investigator Will Graham and forensic psychiatrist Hannibal Lecter.
Just keep it professional.
Or we could socialize like adults. God forbid we become friendly.
I don't find you that interesting.
You will.
Movie fans are more familiar with Dr. Lecter and Clarice Starling's quid pro quo, but her own titular series focused on the aftermath of the Buffalo Bill case.
He was not my therapist. It was a quid pro quo. He wanted
pieces of your life in exchange for his insights into Buffalo Bill, but you were specifically told not to give him any information.
In Hannibal, Will's job involves immersing himself in the minds of killers, and his boss, Jack Crawford, strongly encourages the criminal profiler to see Dr. Lecter to keep his sanity, which is ironic considering Hannibal is a serial killer himself and a cannibal. Their patient-doctor dynamic is interesting, to say the least.
Do you have trouble with taste?
My thoughts are often not tasty.
No, mine.
And under his care, Will's mental state only worsens. However, the two manage to continue working on solving uniquely gruesome serial murders.
If your intention was to kill him, it's because you understand why he did the things he did. It's beautiful in its own way. Giving voice to the unmentionable.
Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few honorable mentions. The Assassination of Gianni Versace, American Crime Story, chronicles the life and crimes of Andrew Cunanan in the 1990s. Ragdoll. A serial killer taunts detectives investigating the murder and dismemberment of multiple victims.
Well, it's not the strangest thing I've ever seen.
Top 10?
7th? Remember the dead man alone in the locked panic room?
Oh yeah, he was great.
The Fall. DSU's Stella Gibson goes on the hunt for the Belfast Strangler.
It didn't go as planned with Gallagher, and it spooked him. And so when he struck again, he made sure that he did it right. Two professional women in their early 30s.
Luther. A dedicated detective who often breaks the law to catch a killer. Mr. Mercedes, based on Stephen King's trilogy about a retired detective drawn back to an unsolved case.
Is the case still active? I mean, for real, anybody doing actual work on it?
It's active, Bill. You're never gonna let it go, are you?
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1. Mindhunter. Topping off our list is David Fincher's Mindhunter, a crime thriller created by Joe Penhall that chronicles the nascent days of the FBI's Behavioral Science Unit in the late 70s and early 80s. This stylistic series follows Special Agents Holden Ford and Bill Tench, along with psychologist Dr. Wendy Carr, as they conduct interviews with incarcerated repeat murderers for a research project.
The conversations with Kemper shed light on things we've been exploring in the behavioral sciences.
There's a clear correlation with what we're finding at crime scenes. It proves that we're on track.
Their goal was to gain insight into the mind of a killer to solve ongoing crimes. Ford and Tench are loosely based on John E. Douglas and Robert K. Ressler, former agents who introduced criminal profiling into the Bureau. And Dr. Carr is inspired by psychology professor and researcher Ann Wolbert Burgess.
So yes, what happens to these men is normal, but the way that they process it is not. That's our goal, to dig into the why, like you did with Kemper.
It's a fascinating look into the history of criminal psychology, reportedly featuring real dialogue from notorious serial killers like Edmund Kemper and David Berkowitz.
You see, Bill, I knew a week before she died I was gonna kill her.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.